Sharon, who I've been knowing for some years now, to be on my show to talk about some of the things that's going on in Boston. It just seems so, I don't know, this world that we live in is just so, it seems like it's turned upside down, and, there's so much going on with the wars, the rumors of wars, the things that's going on right in our backyard with our education. And so, I noticed I had printed it out, but I left it. There was a hearing. Was it Monday, the hearing down at City Hall?
Monday at 2 o'clock, yes, about the White Stadium.
Right. So I know you've been following that, right, Sharon? As I have been too. I'm actually a Franklin Park defender. I joined that fight because I feel like it is a fight worth joining. So tell us a little bit about the hearing.
I mean, there's so many fights that are going on, right?
Mm-hmm.
Locally, nationally, globally. I mean, but also, as Black people, I feel like we've always been fighting for something, fighting to survive, fighting to live, fighting to keep a roof over our head. Black Bostonians are the only demographic that's decreased in Boston, while all the other ones are increased. And so there's, divide and conquer policies around that. And it was evident on Monday that there were different sides, people that were people of color that were for and against White Stadium. I think everybody is at least in agreement that something needs to happen in terms of upgrading this facility that's been raggedy for almost 50 years now in the Black community. And it wasn't always like that. And so the issues are who's going to control the space or the land um, in the neighborhood, in communities of color, whether it's Roxbury, Dorchester, Mattapan, Hyde Park. I mean, still, there's certain specific places where there's concentrations of people of color. And I say people of color because it's not all Black Bostonians. You have a lot of immigrants. Hyde Park and Mattapan have a large percentage, probably the largest of immigrants in terms of Black immigrants. Then you have immigrants from other places in Brighton, um, Eastern Europeans, and then you've got East Boston. I mean, a lot of Latinos. So, and then ICE, is a big issue if you are someone who is undocumented or you happen to be an immigrant and you look like an immigrant. ICE has never not been here. And the mayor has stressed the fact that this is one of the sanctuary cities, which there's different issues along with that. But in terms of, the Boston public schools, and only a third of students being at grade level but graduating, and then the $53 million deficit that is going to cause 400 people to be laid off or terminated or reassigned, well, really terminated, um, in light of the dropping enrollment, school enrollment for different reasons, lower birth rates, going to charter schools or moving out of Massachusetts. So there's a lot of different reasons why there are less students and therefore less revenue. However, when you're talking about the city putting in over $100 million into a soccer stadium, that reportedly is going to be split usage between a women's soccer team, professional soccer team, and the Boston Public Schools is still up in the air. There's still an issue. Why would you put that money that you need in the Boston Public Schools to keep them open as opposed to you're giving it to a soccer stadium? That's going to take years to build. I mean, it's sort of like Trump, right? Trump said, "Oh no, I like the East Wing. I love the East Wing. It's my favorite wing. I wouldn't touch it." Then it's demolished. Oh, I love White Stadium. That's one of the best things that I really love Franklin Park. Boom, demolished before there's really community discussion on what should really happen with the people that live around there. So there's issues around transportation. There's issues around parking. There's issues around having a liquor license in a place that's going to be used by school students. And so you're not supposed to have a dual use. I mean, there's a lot of issues. Like, can you really have a professional soccer team? Um, you're going to only give parking passes to people that live around there, two parking passes. So what happens if on a game day you've got a barbecue, if you've got a family gathering, you've got something going on? Our car's going to be towed. I mean, there's always been issues around there. And are there going to be shuttle buses? Is the money that's coming into White Stadium, going to be shared by the businesses and the residents and the communities that are surrounding Franklin Park and White Stadium. And then you've got Shattuck and a proposed plan to build to put in 200 units of homeless and drug addicted, formerly drug addicted, whatever, but in Franklin Park on the other end. I mean, for those of us who are very familiar with Mass and Cass, you're going to put these same people around bushes and trees in the Franklin Park? Come on, man. I remember not too long ago, an elder who beat the brakes off of someone that was assaulting her, physically assaulting her, Jean McGuire, in her
Mm-hmm.
90s on the other side of Franklin Park.
Right.
So what's really going on? It's a mess. Um, and then I testified on Monday.
Mm-hmm.
Thank the Dorchester Reporter for actually doing a decent job of covering people that were for or against. And it
Mm-hmm.
was obviously that most of the people that live around there are against it. They're not against refurbishing White Stadium. They're against who's going to control it. What
Mm-hmm.
does the lease actually say? How long is the lease? Suppose the soccer team is not successful. Suppose the construction costs continue to rise. Who's going to pay for that? I mean, there's still a lot of stuff that's going on.
Not only that, there was an article about seems like one third of the high school students aren't even going to be graduating. So you put a lot of energy into building a stadium for you say it's for the students, but it's really not. And then and a lot of our students aren't even getting out of high school. So I mean, what sense does that make? See, that's why we need an elected school committee. Because if we had an elected school committee, this stuff would not be going on. Also, the issue with Madison Park. Now they're taking P3 and they're going to build a new Madison Park. I mean, things are just totally, totally out of control. It really is, you know.
There is a hearing tonight that's going
Mm,
to be at the McAfee Auditorium at Madison Park. It's 6 until 8, and it's sponsored. It's around Boston Public Schools and Madison Park specifically, but Boston Public School Forum, and it's being held by Councilors Culpepper and Worrell. That's tonight, Thursday
mm.
night
Time,
at
6 o'clock.
McAfee, Madison Park High.
6 o'clock.
Yes, 6 to 8.
Okay, and it's specifically about
BPS forum for BPS families. So if you're a parent, a teacher, a student, a community member, an activist, you need to show up and hear you and let your voice be heard. I mean, it's interesting that one of the other things has been brought up is actually having these hearings and official council hearings in the neighborhoods, right? At times when people who are affected by this can actually attend. I mean,
exactly.
I was at a hearing that was at 2 o'clock in the afternoon. I had to leave to go to a class later
Hmm.
on that evening, but the hearing was still going on. And I got there at 1 o'clock. And that's the other thing, how things are structured to really hear the community versus hearing the so-called
Hmm.
experts or the elected officials. You wait for hours to testify and they only give you 2 minutes. And that's
It
the
makes
school
sense.
committee and the city council and the state department. I mean, you're there for free. All these people are getting paid. And then the consultants or the, experts or the elected officials, they're all getting paid. And so as community people, we're showing up for free. And some of us, you know, you can't
Gotta
assume
leave
just people
work
showing
or
up
go.
and not losing money.
Yeah, you gotta go, either leave to go to work because the hearings are so long. That's one thing I really admired and liked about Council Yancey. He would let the community go first. I mean, it's supposed to, like you said, they're getting paid. That's their job. They're gonna be there, you know. But parents and other folks that are interested and want to be there, they got to take time off from whatever they're doing to come and testify. Like you said, they only get 2 minutes. I mean, to me, it's a joke. The whole thing needs to be reconstructed. I'm telling you, we need some new city councilors. You know, we
We
need
only have
people that,
one.
huh?
We only got one. Everybody else was an incumbent.
Exactly. And so, unfortunately, we got people that are handpicked by the mayor to do her bidding, which I'm just very, to me, it's ridiculous. It's just really, really gotten out of hand. Next year is election year.
This
And we
is
need
an election year too.
well, yeah, this is yeah for the yeah, and you don't hardly hear anything from them. You see them at photo ops and things like that. I mean,
I mean, I went to the mayor's quote unquote office hours. It
Mm-hmm.
was an expanded like coffee because she does the coffee, during election years, she does the little coffee and donuts things right around in every neighborhood.
The breakfast.
And then, the city councilors, whether they're at large or district city councilors, um, they do their different things to make it look like they've been working, the whole 2 years or the whole 4 years or whatever, right? But
Mm-hmm.
you're right. The If it wasn't for Tanya Fernandez Anderson being forced out, we would have had all the same city councils. There's no term limits on that, which they
Right.
should be. And so that's part of the issue too. Should there be term limits? And I've heard people say age limits, which, I have a problem with that. I'm pushing back on that a little bit. But
Mhm.
there definitely should be some term limits in terms of people staying in office. I mean, Senator Markey is one of the people that are saying, you've been there long enough, you need to step aside so some younger people get in there. And so there is a value to having younger people, but there's also value to having people that have institutional memory and some wisdom and some experience in terms of how to do this thing and how to work it.
That's so true. That's so true. It seems like you don't know which is worse, the education system, the housing system, the health system. I mean, it's just like we're just like, when are things gonna change? When are we gonna get some real people that can do some, that will actually stick up for us, that will fight for us? And we're being taxed, but we have no representation.
Well, every time, I mean, you ran for office, I've run for office. There have been people that are run for office several times. Remember, I mean, I was surprised, and I hope she's still alive. Althea Garrison, she was Roy Owens and Althea Garrison. It seemed like there wasn't an office that they wouldn't run for, an election that they wouldn't be in. In this past one, she wasn't. He was, but she wasn't. And so it's like, and she actually got office by running for office and won by default because somebody
Mm-hmm.
left the position and then she filled it in. She was just like a seat warmer. When they have TV shows, they don't want to see an empty seat.
Came
Um,
in fifth. She came in fifth. So when we lost Sion to Congress, she automatically got that position.
that's right. But it
Mm-hmm.
wasn't for a full term. It wasn't for any long period of time where she could really affect any change because you have to have a constituency. When you go into office, I mean, one of the most disappointing things is the people that don't show up. I mean, then, the narrative of the press this past election, but every election, but on national level and on a local level, the press, the printed press, the traditional media is fighting against social media for survival. And so whoever is spending the most money is the person or organization that gets the most ink, the most exposure. And that's what happened with the last mayor election. There were always four people on the ballot, always four people on the ballot, always. And there were a lot of people that pulled papers, and
Mm-hmm.
then different forums would set the parameters of who they were going to put in the panel so that you could hear from them. And the first forum was at Suffolk University. This young brother, Alex, Latino, and
Mm-hmm.
Domingos DeRosa, and Mayor Wu, Michelle Wu, the incumbent, and Josh Kraft were at that forum. And the media, Boston Globe, Black reporter, didn't even report that Domingos DeRosa was there. And he owned it. Like Alex is young. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and he came up with he's got an environmental, green agenda in terms of clean up the environment and that kind of stuff. So, okay, novelty. But then you got Domingos was handing everybody's hat to them, and the
Mm-hmm.
Globe didn't even report that he was there. So
Mm-hmm.
you've got to have fairness in the media. You and I are in the media. You're supposed to give every candidate a chance, a shot, and that's not what was happening. And when you have one incumbent and a challenger that can spend millions of dollars for a job that barely pays $250,000, $250,000, but they're spending millions, then you tell me what's really at stake when the people that are putting in money in the PACs are putting in millions of dollars. What's really happening? Where's the power? I went up against a person who was placed in the position by the mayor, held in the position by the mayor, and one of the at-large city councilors, Henry Santana, he got
So,
more votes than George Kraft, the millionaire, son of a billionaire. So, you know, let's talk about fairness in terms of, and then let's talk about the apathy and the lack of participation. There are people that are in this country that don't understand black people, people of color that don't understand the sacrifice that black Americans paid in blood and lives to be able to get the right to register and then to be able to vote. And it's still going on with the voter suppression that's happening in these red states where they're trying
Hmm.
to keep, the GOP, the Republican Party, is trying to maintain control of those seats so that this Humpty Trumpty Dumpty, the orange menace that's in the White House, can continue to shove down the American people's throats. His policies that are not well thought out. He's got us in a war that they refuse to call war. If you go to and people say, "Oh, that doesn't concern me. That's over in Iran." Oh yeah. Have you looked
That
at gas
does.
prices? Oh yeah. You look at grocery prices? Oh yeah. Yes, it does. And so people, they rely on social media to inform them. This whole destroying diversity, equity, inclusion policies, basically, I mean, even to the point of this petty criminal, he's petty, but he's a felon, has taken the last president's photograph and put it in a hallway in the White House. I mean, this guy's getting away with stuff that is just insane. And talking about DEI initiatives and trying to say that that's the most unqualified people. Look at who he's put in office. My God. My God. My God. I mean, black women are the most educated demographic in the United States, and all of a sudden degrees don't matter. And we've never gotten paid what we were worth. And
Never.
and we're the majority of heads of household in the black community, but we're getting paid. We're asked to do more with less again, still, and still when we do it, then we get disqualified, we get pushed out, we don't get promoted. I mean, Boston is the fifth most expensive city in the world, and it's always been top one, two, or three between San Francisco, or Los Angeles in California and New York. We've always been up there. And yet, and still, if you're in a fixed income, they don't make allowances. The federal government doesn't make allowances for your Social Security disability. They have a flat rate across the country. And so that's another reason why so many people leave in Massachusetts. It's not just black people leaving Massachusetts, there's a whole lot of people leaving
Exactly.
Massachusetts, and
Not only
students
that,
won't stay here. They can't afford to stay here.
exactly. Not only that, your taxes go up. I mean, it's just like you're just caught between a rock and a hard place. Do you stay here and try to survive, or do you just leave?
Well, you may not be able to afford to move either.
Yeah, and where you gonna go too? That's another thing. I mean, there's madness all over the country. I mean, you really don't know where to go, but people are leaving here, and people are coming here also. You see all the building construction and stuff they're doing, and people are homeless. People have nowhere to live, but they're building, building, building. So I mean, we need to look at something called workforce housing. There's so many things that can be done to turn this around, but we have a mayor that doesn't listen to us. you
It's
know
not just him. Look at all the people that are
no,
supporting him.
no, I
Still,
said the mayor. I said the mayor. We have a mayor that don't listen to us.
oh her, well, oh
but
her. And listen, I want to balance out the conversation, right?
Mhm,
Because she is still a woman
mhm,
and she's still dealing with this power structure, regardless of some people who think they're white adjacent or model minorities, or it doesn't concern them because they're not a black American, they're not American or whatever, right? And whose family structures and whose community structures and language hasn't been destroyed and constantly oppressed, like black Americans in this country, right? And so they come here and don't think it applies to them and don't show some respect to the people that made it possible for them to even come here. And so
mhm,
they're not engaged. I mean, I lost count of how many people, Domingos and I were out there tag teaming together, getting signatures and getting people to vote. And we were helping other candidates to get on the ballot too. It wasn't just us. He's a coalition builder and an organizer, and so am I. And
mhm,
so we're not the type of people that just want it all for ourselves. We want human beings, people, to do better, to have a better quality of life, right? And so because you don't know how much life you have. And recently it seems like there's a whole lot of people dying. I mean, I just lost a longtime friend of mine, Mark Harris, who's on another radio
Oh, I
station up
heard
in he
about that from 98.1. I
And
It,
that was a couple of days ago, right?
mm-hmm,
And then another friend of mine, Andre Evans, who was at BNN forever,
mm-hmm,
2 weeks ago, they found him dead. I mean, and they're both younger than me, considerably younger than me.
mm-hmm,
And then you have the elders, so we're losing libraries in their 90s and their 80s. And I just want to say to black men who don't like going to the hospital, who don't want to, and there's reasons why black people don't want to go to the hospital. I mean, let's be real. It's not
right.
just you don't want to go to the hospital, but um, I have known and still know so many black men that are dealing with cancer and prostate cancer. They're not
Yeah.
getting themselves checked out. It's crazy. To me, if this was happening to any demographic, it would be an emergency calling. So between people not being registered to vote and voting and participating in the electoral process, because Mayor Wu, God bless her, was not elected by the majority of registered voters and the majority of voters in Massachusetts. I mean, in Boston, rather. I'm not saying that, Governor Haley, but she was not elected by the majority of voters in Boston, right? And then the last election, not this past election, the one before that, there were over 100,000 registered voters who voted for an elected school committee, and she ignored it. I was part of the coalition, her first term, the first year that got a meeting with her, and she met with us and listened. Um, but she did what she wanted to do. At first, she said she was interested in a hybrid school committee. So we're like, okay, cool.
Mhm.
And we can help you do that. But right now, in this country, there is no successful hybrid school committee, elected school committee the size of Boston.
Mhm.
Then she turned around and said, no, 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 no. I guess she looked at the budget. She always knew it because the city councilor, the size of the
Mhm.
budget, the city budget, that is education. She wanted to control it. So you have these people, and it's not just her. She's not the only mayor that could have said, let's return back to an elected school committee. But she's the last one. She's the latest one that has dug her heels in and has so much control over the city council, over the school committee, over the budget. She's a brilliant woman. She's not stupid.
No, no, not at
She's
all.
not stupid, but there are black people and people of color around her that so it looks good. But then when you look at the decisions on P3, the decisions on Madison Park, the decisions on White Stadium, the decisions on the bus lane going to Blue Hill Avenue, come on. The
Yeah.
decisions on Cummings Highway, which,
I
took
still don't
2 years
understand why.
almost to fix. The decisions on the bike lanes. Come on, man. What are you doing? You're not listening to the Shattuck. You're not listening to the people, the black people in particular. There's a reason why the black community, despite the black people around you, still think you're not listening.
Yeah, that's so true. I mean, it's you wonder. It's like, who is she really listening to? And you're supposed to be for the people, but you're not for the people. I mean, your action speaks louder than words.
She,
And
for
from
some people, she listened to Charlestown,
yeah, but
right?
look,
She listened to
uh,
Back Bay. She listened to downtown when they didn't want a one bus lane going up. She listened to some communities because they vote.
mhm,
I mean, there is a game, right? So the temptation is you standing up, Julie Mejia, and you get isolated. You still have to form coalitions with the other 12 city councilors. But if you're isolated, you can't form a coalition to get stuff through. I've been in the hearings where they shut her down, they shut her out. Tanya Fernandez Anderson. At one point, we had a significant number of city councilors that were people of color. Then all of a sudden, no Ricardo Arroyo, no Kendra Lara, right? No, no Tanya Fernandez Anderson. And then you've got people of color who are not necessarily voting in the interest of people of color. Let's talk about this last maneuver to keep Brian Worrell from being the president. First, he would be. We haven't had a black male president of the city council in 25 years, right?
mm,
And then there was, Julia Mejia brought it out. It's like, forget all this dealing in the shadows and this backroom dealing. Let's bring it out. Let's show what's really going on. And then there was a controversy. And then it came down to two counselors, and then Gabriela Coletta Zapata and Brian Worrell. I mean, Julie was kind of in there, but she kind of wasn't in there. But potentially there were three people, right? And then Julie was like, nope. And let's see. And it came down to two. And then the night before the election, that Sunday night, Enrique Pepin and Sharon Durkin went to Liz Breeden's house in Brighton and talked her into putting her name in the hat when Gabriella had taken her name out Sunday night and said, I'm no
Mhm.
longer in contention. That would have left Brian Worrell. And Brian was saying, well, it ain't over till it's over. And he was right.
Mhm.
Because all of a sudden, you know, and it was one vote, Henry Santana, Ruthie Louisiane, Enrique Pepin. There were seven people. I'm specifically talking about the so-called people of color.
Mhm.
How do you vote against a black man who was head of a powerful committee? And when the committee assignments come out, you don't have any black people that are heads of any of the three powerful committees. Come on, man. In favor of who? Who's supposed to be the what did they call them? Not the compromise candidate. I forget the term, the specific term. But supposedly she was supposed to be Liz Breeden, who's now the current um, president of the city council. She was supposed to be the compromise candidate. Um, come on, really? And then you turn around and the person who actually resigned from running is the head and also her vice chair. Liz Breeden's vice chair. So you watch the people playing the games and honestly, I was asking myself, is this what I mean, you want to get in a snake pit with these people that'll lie in your face? Lie in your face with a smile on
Mhm.
and say one thing to your face, then do
You
some kind of
remember?
Robert's Rules of Orders maneuvering.
Yeah.
This is Julia's third term, and she had a agenda, people's agenda, 2 weeks ago. Successful, couple of hundred people showed up. She
Mhm.
did it at the bowling building. She did it at night, and she had the first 2 hours were for youth, and then
Mhm.
she had a session where you go over the budget so people could understand how this money decision is being made, because there is a move, and it's currently happening where people can chime in on the budget. People actually the city council is trying to say that we want to listen to how you think we should spend your money.
Mhm.
Because people forget it's your money that's paying the mayor, it's your money that's paying the city council, it's your money that's paying the school committee. I mean, it's a stipend, but it's still your money. It's your money that's paying for the police. It's your money that's paying for city service. It's your money. It's your money. And you have a voice. You have a voice at the ballot box. You have a voice in terms of if you don't like initiatives and dockets, and it's confusing and it's
Mhm.
tiring to read all this stuff and understand it. But if you don't, then you are part of the problem. And chime in, you are part of the problem. Show up. If you can't show up, maybe you can do it on Zoom. Some of these meetings are hybrid, and you at least know what's going on. The Boston Policy Institute and Schoolyard News, they're doing a good job in terms of school department and EdWatch, trying to keep people apprised of what's going on. But you got to look at several different sources. You can't think about one and, oh, all of a sudden I know the Boston Banner, and all of a sudden I know all the issues. I mean, Ed Gaskin is doing a wonderful job with his op-eds and his articles about White Stadium. He did a series of them and
Mhm.
really got into the weeds. Like, where's the money coming from? Did anybody really think about that? The vendors and stuff. And then you have people, you go to hearings, it's like, oh yeah, so and so percent of the vendors are MBE, meaning minority business enterprise, or WMBEs, women minority enterprises. Then you look at who the women are. Are they all white women? Are they black women? Are these businesses that have always been in there? Is it a mechanism to build up black businesses? I'm talking too much, but there's so much stuff that's going on. Last night I
I
was
know.
in
Well,
another one,
that's
and
why I have you on because I've been out of the picture for the last couple months, so I really don't know what's going on unless I read something or someone tells me.
people call your house though. You have people power because people call your house and you got young people around you and they look at stuff totally different. They're like, because we were young, people forget, man, we were young at one time too. And our generation, I'm gonna pat us on the back. We changed things. We did the marching, we did the protesting. I remember you out there in the wintertime, you and Brother Lowe, when it came to
Mhm.
the Boston Jobs residency thing, and we were on Touch FM and you'd call in there and give the reports and you held people's people accountable to their policies. You say that it's supposed to be 50% this and 25% this, or it was 12%, and then you got it kicked up. And then you started counting people in the job site. Are they doing what they really said they were doing? You can't just vote and then you get your person in office and you walk away because they need you to show up. The numbers that we're coming to the offices with is pitiful, really. If you're
Mm-hmm.
thinking, and so other elected officials are looking at us. I mean, God bless Minyard Culpepper, but I got more votes in District 5 than he got, and he's in office and I'm not. So it's like, okay, uh, Henry Santana, God bless him, he's a young brother, brother of color, dark skinned, Dominican brother. He's trying to do his thing. He now lives in the neighborhood, deep in the hood. But what are you doing, bro? When you had head the education committee. Now it's Julie me here. What are y'all doing? They had a school committee meeting last night talking about school closings, and another meeting where you get 2 minutes after you sit on, Zoom or you're in the. It's ridiculous. I mean, this meeting tonight, and it's a lot. If you've got kids and you're a parent and you're working two and three jobs that are not paying you enough, bruh. I mean, it's a lot. But somebody's got to show up. Somebody. And especially when you don't necessarily have like a black political task force that's going to tell you what's going on. We losing you, Priscilla. Where's your head? There you go. That beautiful face with that beautiful smile with the Africa. You know what I'm saying? I mean, you and I have been doing this for a while, and young people get into it and they don't know what it took. They don't know what it took. I mean, I'll tell my age. I remember the invention of the internet, okay? We didn't
Me?
have that. We didn't
Mm-hmm.
have that. You know what I'm saying? You had to yell across the street. You had to go door to door. I mean, we had phones plugged into the wall. You're
Exactly.
calling. You know what I'm saying? We remember, cartoons like the Jetsons and
Mm-hmm.
007 had phones in their car and I Spy and stuff. I mean, everybody didn't have a cell phone and they were huge when they invented. So we remember that, but we also are old enough to remember white only and colored only. We're
Mm-hmm.
also old enough in Boston to remember when there's certain parts in Boston you had to fight your way across the street. The Strand Theater, I remember if you went at certain times across Columbia Road, you had to fight your way back. It was no joke. And then, we had more businesses on Blue Hill Avenue. I remember when the majority of businesses on Blue Hill Avenue down to Dudley were black owned. A lot of
Yeah.
them were the Nation of Islam.
Yeah. They were, up in Grove Hall. I mean, it's a lot has changed over the years. A lot has changed.
And not for the good necessarily, not when
Mm-mm.
it came to us. The
Mm-mm.
redlining, how almost 400 homes were taken in Roxbury, Dorchester, Mattapan, snatched from black families.
Yeah.
And those families didn't get those back.
No.
And
No.
then the homeowners, if you're a homeowner, property tax has been raised 3 times in the last year. Ridiculous.
Sure. No. And if you're a senior, like we are, and you're on a retirement or Social Security or something,
Or you're
you know,
still working because you have to.
yeah, yeah. How do you pay that? That's how a lot of us are losing our homes. You know.
The prices are going up, the income is not going up. The
Mm-hmm.
opportunities are not going up because you've got AI and you've got automation that are taking jobs. I mean, I refuse when I go shopping, I
Mm-hmm.
refuse to use the self-checkout. I want
Mm-hmm.
a person in front of there because that if I- all the people they're not even politically aware of how they are aiding and abetting their own obsolescence. They're moving themselves out of jobs, right?
Yeah.
And AI is not going anywhere.
It sure
But
ain't.
we are not really educating ourselves or educating our kids. I got to give a shout out to Joel McCall with Reidrin.
Mm-hmm.
He just had a workshop, the third workshop, teaching the community um, and focusing on seniors, but teaching the community the power of AI
Mm-hmm.
because we're still the most intelligent, and this is
Mm-hmm.
a tool that we need to learn that we can use to aid the creativity and the spirituality that we have. We've always had it.
Mm-hmm.
They keep keeping us out of everything, including sports and businesses. But once we get in it and force our way into it, we're still the baddest ones on the planet. And they know it. That's what I understand why they're afraid, because they think
Mm-hmm.
we're gonna do to them what they've done to us. But we're so spiritual and so God-minded that we
Mhm.
haven't done
Right.
what has been to other people would have been done to us. We're still real kumbaya. Come
Mhm.
on, let's open up the doors. We shall overcome. We, not me shall overcome. You don't say me shall overcome. It's we shall overcome, right? I mean, Pastor Wall, God bless him. He's
Yeah.
been here, and people are not supporting him the way they should be supporting him. BNN TV, BNN Media started because the black community refused and formed a coalition, refused to let the cable company come in here and negotiate a franchise license and franchise fees with the city of Boston and not include the community. But now you have a majority of white management, young management, and they're cool. They're all cool. It's an
Mhm.
accident of birth that they're white, but there were majority people of color who made that happen. So you have people in there now that don't understand, don't remember the sacrifice, and so they're acting in a way that it has um, showpieces or pieces up front that look like they're in power, and they're really not. They're
Mhm.
really not. It's supposed
Yeah.
to be an independent entity,
Mhm.
independent media that's part of democracy, the press, freedom of the press, freedom of speech, and we do not have that in this country. The majority of media, almost totally, but a
Mhm.
large majority of media is owned by corporations.
Mhm.
And for those of us who worked in corporate broadcasting,
Mhm.
um, it is not in the interest of the common person. It's in the interest of the persons that got money. If you have a company and you're spending a certain amount of money in
Mhm.
corporate media and say there's some controversy with your food or your product or something like that, they
Mhm.
usually don't report it in the ways
Yeah.
it should be reported because they'll lose revenue. I mean, that's just the reality. Any of us that have really been in that and seeing both sides of that, you got to understand we have to have independent media like Boston Praise Radio and
Yeah.
Urban Heat and Spark FM and BNN Media and all the cable access, Cambridge Cable Access and Brookline Interactive Group and GBH. You have to have that. And there's a
Right.
reason why the government is trying to cut that out and call everything fake news so you stop listening to everything and
Mhm.
anything and be discerning. You can't really vote intelligently if you don't know what the issues are,
That's
both
right.
sides of it.
That's so true. That's so true. I just think about everything that's going on, everything that has happened in the past, what's going on now. What if we could just get our folks to come together and support each other and really fight this fight, because it is a fight, and there's only a few of us in the fight. There's not enough of us in this fight.
Feels like it. I mean, I think we're all in the fight, but we're on different sides.
Mm,
Because people are fighting to survive. You're fighting to get your kids in school. You're fighting to keep your kids in school. You're fighting for it to be a good school, right? You may be
right,
fighting for you to be in school. Um,
right.
you're fighting to get a job. You're fighting to keep the job. Then you're fighting to get paid well at the job and fighting for benefits at the job and how long you can stay in the job. I mean, people are talking about how folks stay in positions too long, but they don't understand what it took for you to even get in a position. And then once you get in there and you know what you're doing, you want to take the time to do what you know that you can do there. And
Mm-hmm.
so, and it's a small number of positions, like the NBA. A whole lot of people can play ball, but who's really in the NBA to really make the money, right? And how long are you going to be in there? So you try
Right.
to stay in there, but and so Joe Biden is another person they said stayed in too long and didn't really give Kamala Harris a shot. You got, like I said before, Ed Markey. Then you've got people that have been in there. Um, we've had mayors that have been in there, it seemed like forever, and they died in the job. So do you wait until they give up the ghost and then and so we got to also understand that there's elected officials whose parents, Fitzgerald, who's a city councilor, his father was in politics. Ed Flynn, his father was a mayor. Ray Flynn. So there is a succession plan that
Mm,
certain demographics are afforded because of privilege. And this country, I'm a history teacher and an English
mm,
teacher, but this country, and because public schools and schools don't teach really American history that includes everybody,
mm-hmm.
people don't understand that when Black folks have gotten together in this country,
Mm-hmm.
when Black folks, and there's certain periods, Reconstruction, after Civil War, um, then you had the Red Summer, 1919, 1920s, World War I, World War II. civil rights movement. It's not just we shall overcome. We've been fighting since we've been here. We were fighting in Africa. We were fighting on the ships. We're still fighting, right? So every time black folks have gotten together in the 60s, there was a concerted effort by every branch of government to kill us, to squash us. J. Edgar Hoover, it's documented how he said he wanted to do everything he could to keep a black messiah from rising to unite black people for our rights that we should have had as American citizens. Black people have fought in every single war, every single war, every single war.
Well,
And yet, and still, the veterans didn't get the same benefits. And we were
nope.
killed when we were in uniform. So if you
Yeah.
come to this country from another country and you don't understand that history, you may become part of the problem. And come, I've heard black people from other countries say the reason why black folks didn't go ahead and black Americans is because they're lazy. What? We're the only ones who worked here for free for over 200 years. Lazy?
Mm-hmm.
Don't get me started because we need another whole show for that.
I know, right? I know. I tell you, it's very, I like to hear you, Sharon, because I know you know a lot. I know you're a survivor, and it's just, sad that we don't have more of this going on. That we're not really our children are kind of like running amok, and they don't really fully understand. They're so tied up into these phones and all this other stuff, that if they, they just, I don't know.
I can't say that about our young people. I mean, I sort of dread getting into the summer because there's more people out in the street. There's not enough opportunities for our young people. And so they got time and energy on their hands, right? It sounds like trouble. It smells like trouble. But our young people are brilliant and they're born brilliant.
They are,
And
but
they
it just,
really, really are. You work with young people. I work with young people. My daughter's youth leader at Jubilee. I would dare anybody to, and there's powerful youth ministries in a lot of different churches, right? But Jubilee right now has the
mm,
largest and fastest growing youth um, group in the city. I mean,
mm,
other than, when the city employs young people, but that's, different organizations doing it. But in terms of a solid group that's focused and
mhm.
community service, and when I look at the young people at Jubilee, I'm just excited. First, I'm excited because they jumping for Jesus, and they could be jumping for anything. But
Right.
then I've actually seen the community work that the young people are doing on an individual and a group basis, supporting each other and keeping each other out of trouble, and then also cleaning up in the community. Um, we're going to be doing some expanding the voter registration at the church. I think and I'm challenging every single church, every single Sunday, every single service, you need to have voter registration out there. You need to. You have to. Like the black church was the place that we organized because we could.
That's right.
Back in the day, they were bombing churches. I mean, people forget they bombed our churches, burning our churches. Like, the people that own the media tend to be certain persuasion, and so you hear about the synagogues, but they've been doing that to us forever and haven't stopped.
But fortunately, but yeah, it's a new day, it's a new world we're living in. This world is vastly becoming, where people are tired and people are dying, and a lot of our elders and folks that our friends, they're leaving this world, they really are. And so if we don't leave something for our youth to grasp on, to learn, to change, because we need them. We need our young folks.
And we need our elders too. We have to come
So
together.
we
I
need both.
remember, we grew up in a time when children were supposed to be seen and not heard, right? And so being around, I'm the oldest on my father's side. I'm the oldest child and the oldest grandchild. But I was quiet. No, nobody believes that. I was quiet and really shy when I was a kid, but I was. But I loved sitting there and hearing all the stories because all my grandparents were Southerners, North Carolina, South Carolina, Alabama, Mississippi. And I
Mm-hmm.
would and they were, they migrated in the country from away from racial terrorism down south. And a lot of times people didn't want to talk about that because it was re-traumatizing, right?
Mm-hmm.
But as you look at our history and the resilience that we still have, and You got to show up. Um, the two friends that I lost recently, Andre Hollywood Evans, was a member of at least five different cable access companies. And
Mm,
he had plans to go to Japan and film, and he battled cancer and survived cancer. We still don't know. His family, um, hopefully we'll find out what actually took him out. And he was younger than me, but he
mm,
worked and he did what he loved all the way up to the end. Mark Harris. Mark and I met. We were students at Northeast University. We're in WRBB together, WILD. He actually worked for me at WCAS Radio.
mhm,
This we had him way before Urban Heat had him,
mm,
and then Urban Heat and Marv Neal, who is the founder and owner of Urban Heat, was one of my students at Springfield College School of Human Services. So I mean, Boston is a big city, and if you're out here and you're doing stuff, and he's amazing. He was always an A student, an amazing guy. He's a wonderful guy. Mark is a wonderful guy. As I'm looking at people giving him his props on social media, his funeral unfortunately is on my birthday next week,
mm,
but fortunately it's still my birthday. Praise God.
mhm,
And I'm hoping that I make it to 120 with legs like Tina Turner. I'm still going for that. You know, Moses made it to 120. Who knows, right?
mhm.
But these people did what they loved until they couldn't do it anymore.
Right.
And so I'm calling out to the elders. You know, I've heard them say, "Oh, you know, let's leave that to the young folks." No, you have a purpose too. No matter how much this world is trying to push you out, there's still a reason why we're
Right.
here. God is a God of purpose, and if you're still here, you still have a purpose. Fulfill your purpose while you're on this side of the grave before you get to the other.
That's right. That's right. So, Sean, I know you ran last year. Are you thinking about running again?
Yes,
Mm,
absolutely. Especially when I saw the shenanigans.
right. Right. I mean, we need people like you. It's just, there's some people out there that really, I really would like to see run for office because we gotta change it. I mean, it's politics, as T. Michael always calls it. It's a lot of politics, but I would love to see like a Carrie Mays, or a Bermina, someone young, energetic, unafraid, running for some of these seats. But
Well, I think
also,
we
I
need to
want,
have that pipeline, right? Because you're building the pipeline, I'm building the pipeline. I don't plan on being in the seat until I die. I don't.
yeah,
Um, and thank God, Domingos De Rosa. Domingos is only in his 40s,
mm, mm-hmm,
right? So you talk about young people. I mean, there's gradations of it's everything is relative. There's gradations of youth. Um, do I think somebody should be in their 90s in office? I've met some people in their 80s that are sharper than some people in their teens,
mm,
sharper than some of the people in their 20s. I think there needs to be a balance and there needs to be continuum and there needs to be a grooming and a pipeline of succession that we build up for that.
right, right. I totally agree. That's why I created Marcus Anthony Educational Institute to train our young folks, and it's not easy. It's not easy. It's not easy getting the funding. It's not easy, really holding, our people feet to the fire. We have a lot of just it's just so sad that people just sometimes get in office for the wrong reasons, or sometimes they get in for the right reasons, but then they're coerced, and they're lost they get lost in the sauce. I really have to give Julia her props because she's hung in there. She's like the lone ranger. She reminds me of Counselor Yancey when he was in there. He didn't give up. He if he had to go, he went alone. And I don't really know what it's gonna really take um to just get us back, or to really make some change in the city. But we got to do it. And if we
So
have to,
thank you for having me here today. I really appreciate you. You know I got you, sis.
yeah,
We call each other offline. I mean, we're online right now, but you got to call in and check in with everybody. Everybody's not okay. That's how we found Andre. He was
yeah,
out of his rhythm, and we hadn't heard from him, and we did a wellness check. You got to keep checking on each other, whether they're younger or older. Amen.
yes, yes, sir.
Thank you, Pastor Bruce Wall and Renee.
Yes, I am. I'll tell you, I'm trying to get back in the groove of things, but I've been, like I said, I've been out of it, in the hospital 3 times in 3 months. It's only by the grace of God, Allah, that I'm still here. But, as long as I'm here, I'm gonna stay in the fight. But you may not see me, but trust me, I'm around, you know. But I'm, I'm gonna, I want to come back in the studio, but I'm still weak. But I just thank God. I thank God for giving me a voice, giving me this platform. I'm definitely not afraid, but it's you get weary in well doing, you really do. And so I thank you, Sharon, for coming on. I know you're a fighter. You're gonna stay in the fight, and and trust me, I will be helping you as much as I can when you run for office again. I don't think that's the office that I'm going to be seeking in political office. It's just too much craziness for me. But I do have some folks that I do, want to support, and you're one of them. And I hope Domingo runs
Thank you.
again too.
Thank you. Me
Because we
too.
need we need fighters. We need fighters and advocates, and folks that aren't afraid to speak up, and speak out. And I just, keep up the good work, keep doing what you're doing. Have you back? It's funny how I used to be on your show. Now you on my show. And you the one that gave me people power with Priscilla. We are the people, we have the power. That's my I'm living, that's my motto. So
Amen. God bless you.
yes, thank you. I appreciate you. Love you. Just, stay in the fight. Stay in the fight.
Amen.
Thank you, Pastor. Thanks, Renee. I know our time is out. Um,
Great show, Priscilla. Thank you.
Thank you, Sharon, for all your knowledge. Thank you for coming
Yeah.
on.